Government shutdown has officially entered its third week, and unfortunately, Republicans haven't even shown a basic willingness to come to the table and even start negotiating with Democrats yet. Republicans the past couple of days have started going on air and basically warning the American people about a prolonged shutdown because of their unwillingness to negotiate. Shelley Moore Capito said, she wouldn't be surprised if this ended up being the longest shutdown in government history, surpassing the last Trump shutdown that took place in 2018 and 2019. And other Republican senators and members of Congress have echoed that sentiment as well. And so they're sort of preparing for this long, drawn out shutdown instead of a solution. Like, they haven't even come to the table to start discussing a possible proposal. So unfortunately, it looks like we might be stuck in this for a while. And Mike Johnson, who has been going on cameras every day, had this to say when he was asked about his shutdown strategy. Let's take a look.
Yeah, Manu, go ahead.
You've been doing this every single day, coming up here trying to pressure Senate Democrats. They've been not budging. They've blocked this bill time and time again. So at what point, for the good of the country, do you need to change your strategy to try to negotiate a deal with Democrats?
It's a great question. Manu asks, why don't I change my strategy? I don't have any strategy, Manu. I'm doing the right thing, the clearly obvious thing, the traditional thing. That's exactly what Chuck Schumer voted for in March of this year and gave impassioned speeches was the right and only thing. I don't have anything to negotiate.
Now, we've talked about this before. Just because Chuck Schumer signed it back in the spring does not mean we live in the same world that we lived in back in March. It's pretty clear that we don't, given everything we've seen happen with this administration, their lack of transparency, their desire to, only give tax cuts to their rich friends, and their desire as a result of that to cut healthcare from tens of millions of Americans. And those are sort of the two things we're still seeing at play here. We've got the healthcare side of this, which I will talk about in a bit, but we have the other part of this too, which is the fact that Mike Johnson has kept the House on vacation because still, even entering its third week, he will not swear in Adelita Grijalva, who won her election in Arizona at the end of September. And the entire Democratic caucus has started getting really loud about this the past week or so. And it's been great watching Grijalva get up there and be really front and center. And so the entire kind of Democratic Women's Caucus marched to Mike Johnson's office last night and was chanting, swear her in. Of course, he was nowhere to be found, but this is what Grijalva had to say after that march took place. Let's take a look at it.
Hi friends, Adelita Grijalva, your Congresswoman-elect. I'm here in DC, standing right outside of Speaker Johnson's office. I was certified today. Certified. That means the governor, the attorney general, and the secretary of state have all said, yes, she won. And now they're asking Speaker Johnson, demanding that he swear me in. So that's why I'm here. I came with a lot of my colleagues from the Democratic caucus and the Women's Caucus. They all joined me in asking, demanding that I get sworn in. I'm going to be here for 2 days. Speaker Johnson, you want to swear me in?
So it's great. She's been front and center. She's sort of been leading the charge on this because not only have the people in her district, which represents several 100,000 people, not only have they been without a member of Congress for months, but now they have a newly elected one, and the speaker will not swear her in. And so the people of her district can't have any of their concerns, addressed. And that is some of the day-to-day importance of what these congressional offices, do as well, which is, people have questions. They have issues with their taxes. They have issues with their Social Security or their Medicaid payments. And sometimes their first line of defense that they turn to is their congressional representative. And the congressional representative and the people in their office can help point them in the direction of a solution to their problem. Adelita Grijalva's district can't do that right now because of Mike Johnson. And so, there's that aspect to it. What I've also loved seeing is the two Democratic senators from Arizona, Ruben Gallego and Mark Kelly, really be at the forefront of this as well and bang the drum and support Adelita Grijalva in going on shows and going on the airwaves and demanding that she get sworn in as well. Ruben Gallego did a press conference with Adelita Grijalva in front of the Capitol this morning, and he did not mince words here. So let's take a look at what he said.
Let's cut to it. Speaker Johnson is protecting pedophiles. That's what this is all about. The only reason Adelita Grijalva is not being sworn in right now is because he wants to protect whatever is in those files, all the pedophiles that would be revealed, and he wants to make sure every day that that doesn't happen, he has one more day to protect all those pedophiles, whether it's involving Donald Trump or any of his rich elite friends. That is what Speaker Johnson is doing here. Every reason that he has ever come up with has changed from day one, day two, day three. The only thing that's been consistent the whole time is that Speaker Johnson is trying to cover up for pedophiles. Is that clear enough? Speaker Johnson is covering up for pedophiles, and in the process, Arizona does not have a congresswoman. Right now, of all the times when we have flooding, do you know how often Arizona gets rain, let alone floods? In Tucson, in her district, those members do not have someone to call to ask for help because Speaker Johnson is covering up for pedophiles. Do you guys get that? Speaker Johnson is covering up for pedophiles. Thank you.
So, I mean, he clearly, like I said, did not mince words. He said it, who knows, maybe 8 or 10 times. Speaker Johnson is covering up for pedophiles. That is what this looks like. It is hard to ignore the fact that he will not call the House into session for any reason, which is another thing happened this week, which was, the Democrats were trying to get the House to call a 1-week session so they could vote on paying the troops during the shutdown. That was a priority for Democrats and Republicans. And so Democrats said, can we please get together in the House for a week so we can at least vote on this legislation to pay the troops? Mike Johnson refused because he doesn't want to have to swear in Grijalva and he doesn't want the discharge petition on the Epstein files to be voted on. So he found an illegal workaround. He basically had the White House take funds that were appropriated for other projects like research projects and things, projects for national security, and had them redirect that money to pay the troops, which is not legal. And basically they're daring Democrats to file lawsuits against this because they claim that just means Democrats don't want to pay the troops. That's not true. Democrats are just trying to pay the troops in a legal way, and Mike Johnson is doing it in the illegal way because he doesn't want the Epstein files to get out. So that is one side of this, which has truly taken on a life of its own and has become this kind of crazy other chapter to the shutdown. But at the core of this fight is still healthcare, and Republicans cannot find their footing on this, on this argument to save their life. And so you've got people like Byron Donalds who went on CNN last night and had this to say about the ACA, which is basically them saying the quiet part out loud of what they still want to do to your healthcare and the Affordable Care Act. Let's take a look.
I don't think that the American people should bear that burden today. But we have to repeal and replace this program. It has never worked.
With
the
what?
costs have gotten out of control,
with what?
and the American people feel it.
So,
I think the overall.
Wait, Congress, I'm sorry. I know we get cut off because we're remote and we're talking over each other. I don't mean to do that, but I do want to be very, very clear for the American people. Replace it with what? And do you have the time, given that there is right now the heat felt by Americans, particularly federal workers, but also Americans facing this end of the year ending and expiration? Is there the time to replace it in a way that does not impact everyday Americans who need the health care?
Well, a couple of things. One, you can replace it with getting rid of a lot of the regulatory requirements of the Affordable Care Act.
A couple of things here. First of all, I like that the CNN anchor pushed back on this repeal and replace line that he said, because look, we've been hearing for 14 years from Republicans that they have the best healthcare plan ready when they repeal and replace Obamacare. Yet we have never seen it. Back in 2015, Donald Trump claimed that he was just 2 weeks away from revealing the most beautiful healthcare plan that was going to be so much better than the Affordable Care Act. We haven't seen it. In 2024, Donald Trump said, well, we have concepts of a plan in place. We haven't even seen the concepts of a plan yet. So, despite all of their complaints about the Affordable Care Act, which needs fixing, everybody knows that, but fixing the Affordable Care Act doesn't mean getting rid of it and not replacing it with something and kicking tens of millions of people off of their health care. That is not a solution. And the regulatory part that he talked about of needing to strip away, those regulatory parts are the things that require entities and businesses and to give people health care. So getting rid of those is not going to help the sustainability of the program either. And at the same time, the Affordable Care Act is extremely popular right now. Let's take a look at what CNN's Harry Enton had to say about that yesterday.
Yeah, one of the great underlying things I don't think is necessarily appreciated here is just how much of a comeback story we're talking about in terms of opinions of the Affordable Care Act. I mean, the net favorable rating, back when most of the provisions went into effect back in 2014, look at that. The Affordable Care Act was way underwater at minus 10 points. By the time of the first Trump term, you got it plus 6 points. Look at where we are now, plus 30 points on the net favorable rating. We're talking about the Affordable Care Act on the net favorable rating being 40 points higher than it was when most of the revisions went into effect the first time around back in 2014, 11 years ago. So the key thing to understand about this entire debate is Democrats want to have this debate now in 2025 as compared to 2014 when the Affordable Care Act was not popular. Now the Affordable Care Act is massively popular.
So look, Democrats are holding firm in this shutdown because they are on the right side of history with this, first of all, and they are with the vast majority of the American people on this. A plus 30 approval rating for the Affordable Care Act is a plus 30 approval rating for anything these days is unheard of. So I think, well, like I said, people recognize that there are obviously issues with the ACA, and it needs to be improved, it needs to be shored up, but improving it should not mean getting rid of it. Those are not the same thing. And so, the GOP does not have a plan here, and Democrats do. They want to start with this basic function, which is just restoring the ACA subsidies. And from there, once the system is stabilized and the healthcare system is stabilized, then they can talk about solutions to keep improving it. Until then, this shutdown looks like it's going to drag out. And at least from all the polling we've seen, it looks like the American people are at least on the side of Democrats for this issue and in this shutdown. And I think it will stay that way. That's it for me today. If you liked what you saw in this video, throw a like on it. Follow the Demwins Media YouTube channel. Follow me at buildingthebench.substack.com. And we will keep bringing you the news as you need to see it. Thanks for watching.